Well, hey everyone, time for Geocache Talk. Whether you're at work, in the car, wherever you are, we hope you enjoy this show about the great sport of geocaching. If you're watching on YouTube Live, we ask that you, of course, enjoy the adventure tonight. But if you would, join us in the chat room and participate with others as they watch the show. The link to the chat room is on the geocache.com website on the front page, right below um, the tonight's show, our two affiliates, and there'll be a link to the chat room down there. So please click on that and join us in the chat room for conversations about the show and sometimes conversations that aren't about the show. So we invite you to do that. If you're listening later, please give us a like and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app or on YouTube if you're watching it on YouTube later. Subscribe, and that way you can get all the weekly Geocache Talk goodness. Big thanks to the Trail Bugs for the music and our featured patrons, Jinxer05, Float Your Goat, Just Be, Baker Six Clan, Geocaching Jeeper, Little Black Dog, Irish Allen, R Cool, and PJ Cool 711, CJ Hove, Lady Black Cat, and our new patrons, Cash the Line, O0, Ridland Kid 0O, Florida TB Hunter, The Caching Dead New York, Nicole, UDAC, The Dig Family, JB Opto, NYJ Fan, Keeper of the Cash Flow, GeoVet 91, Nitty Gritsky, E-Ray Bowl, and Hoffer 15. If you'd like to become a patron, head on over to patreon.com/geocache talk for more details. Patrons get the new blackout coins. I think I got one around here somewhere.
I actually have mine with me.
Woohoo!
Well, not in the Jeep anyway.
Jesse's got his. And other geocaching items during the year. I think I finally have done it. I've got all the zipper pulls sent to all the patrons. So yay for me. I got them all out. So that's great. I got more though. I've got a whole bag. So I mean, we're ready for. These are the actual something. This is our path tags we're gonna give out later. So all right. But I do have some more zipper pulls. So have no fear. If you join Patreon, I'll send you one along with a blackout coin. Also, bonus content. Again, there's a show out on Patreon with WV Tim. We've never released it anywhere else. It's out on there for Patreon, for the patrons. It's a full show. It's not like 5-10 minutes or whatever. We did a full show with WV Tim about gadget caches. So excited for folks to go see that. And also we have special events. Geo Woodstock, we're doing a patron dinner, and we'll have giveaways during that event, and door prizes and lots of cool things at that. So we're excited about that. Support levels start at as little as Bison Tube level, which is $3 a month. Well, let me welcome my co-host Jesse.
Hey, good evening. How's it going?
And let's jump right in because we got a lot tonight. Let's jump right into show 148 for May 12th as we discuss a very unique AR cache and the caches along that trek. And joining us for that discussion is Josh Boggs. Welcome to Geocache Talk.
Hi, how you doing?
So glad to have you aboard, my friend.
It's good to be here.
This is interesting, and I think people are going to enjoy this discussion about this. Not only the AR cache, but just the whole trek is crazy, man. We got to, Josh and I got to talk a little bit. We did a little pre-show check one night and talked a little bit about it, and we've been talking back and forth a little about this. So very excited about that. I want to mention right off the top of the bat, we have got some special viewers tonight. I wanted to get some shout outs, Jesse.
It's time for shout outs.
shout outs. I got 3 shout outs. I got one from Maggie, Cash Girl 369.
Yep.
Sadie. She is Sadie B599. And Jessica, who's your fiance, correct?
That's correct.
Peyton 25, and she was on the trip. The girls didn't get to go, but they're watching upstairs. Is that right?
Yeah, I can actually hear them bumping around right now. I think they're really excited.
That's good. So glad to I get to kind of see them for a minute, and so that was fun to get to talk to them briefly the other day. So I'm glad they were able to get to watch now, because I think there's some debate whether they were going to get to stay up tonight and see it.
Well, we're going to give them a little leeway tonight.
Okay, that's good. That's awesome. All right, Jesse, you had you want to make a couple items for the news you want to mention?
So I know we don't want to get into a big long Geo Woodstock update. It's coming up really here, and
It's short, man. I know it's incredible. So it's right here.
But because they are who they are, and they keep adding more things to it, I cannot firm up my plans for the weekend. So you sent me, I think it was you that sent me during this week. It was torture and excitement at the same time. You're like, hey, did you know they're doing a whole matrix of where I goes right in the area? I'm like, no. I had to watch them online as the FTF things disappeared. Boop.
Yep.
Boop, boop, boop.
And it's
and getting them all.
It's a DT grid too, and it's
a full matrix.
It's a where I go. They're all where I go, so they're right outside of Fort Worth, and it's like Jesse's going, no, don't do this.
Well, I'm already skipping work at the end of school, which I work for a school district. So they're like, what are you doing? I was like, man, you approved that months ago. You got to let me go. So there's that big challenge, the Geoache puzzles.
Yep.
That was already going to be a stretch, and all the counties I'm trying to get on the way down. I was already leaving at 4:00 in the morning. I don't know what I'm going to do now, because now I've got to get 81 where I goes to, and it's a whole matrix of them. So it's going to be harder and progressively harder as you go through it. And that's not to mention the mega and the maze and the shows and all this other stuff. This is going to be, I'm going to need a vacation from my vacation when I get back. Without a doubt. But that's a good vacation. You need a vacation when you get back.
Absolutely. That you've done a solid vacation if you got to take a break or get a vacation from your vacation.
Yeah. And this one's going to be one of those. So
I think
wanted to. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying real quick. I think that they're mostly reverse where I goes, right? So you can kick those out. You can kick those out pretty quick, can't you?
Maybe.
Maybe.
It depends on how hard they are, and if they go up the grid, I'm assuming the last one's going to be pretty hard. So it's going to be some.
Yeah,
5 time for sure. But and if I don't get them, I'll come back. I'll have to come back. But I also wanted to do, before we jump into the show, because I'm excited to get on this crazy trip that only geocachers would understand that we're even doing, right? Like, who does this kind of stuff? Right. But it's Mother's Day, so shout out to all the mothers in the chat room, and mothers listen later after this, and mine, who still listens to the show too. So
yay,
supports me. But I even tried to submit an Earth cache that's, Happy Mother's Day Earth cache. Obviously, it's not out yet because it takes a while, but and it may not, but 1 in 5 actually make it to publish. But she her first degree was actually in geology, so I figured that was a neat little present. And she's a geocacher, so I thought that's a neat little present to try to get published. And if it works, it stays, right? Because unless there's a landslide, the feature's still there. I don't even have to maintain it, so it's great.
That's awesome.
So we'll see. But Happy Mother's Day to everybody out there. Hope you've already sent that message out to your mothers as well.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, we had a surprise for my wife. Caleb was not supposed to be coming around. He went to Dallas when he was going to go back to Norman, and he actually drove all the way out here for dinner tonight to be with his mom. And so we just got back a few minutes ago because we had gone to Little Rock to my future daughter-in-law's graduation from graduate school. And so we just got back. It was funny. We drove past some of the caches I want to do, but we didn't have time this time. But some of the caches that Josh did on this trip, we're along that route, and so I was just like, oh well, we'll get back to them. We go that way periodically to Little Rock, so I'm looking forward to doing. We'll get to them here in a few minutes, but all right, let's jump in and talk about this crazy thing. So the challenge is. It's based on the movie Smoking the Bandit, and hopefully everyone has at least seen it or they've watched parts of it. Or
I hope so.
I hope so. I mean, I think it's a funny movie. It came out years ago. I was a much younger man back then, but
I don't know if I was even around. Very, very close to like right when I was birthed.
Right. You're not being serious.
Well, what year did it come out? I can't remember.
Oh gosh.
If it was in the 70s, yeah, that's before me. That predates me.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ouch.
All right. He's young.
It does not predate me.
No. Anyway, but yeah, it's based on that. We're going to talk about the AR part of it here in a minute, but he designed this to be sort of based on the movie. The movie, well, I'll let you, Josh, kind of explain basically the premise, I guess, of the movie, and then if you would kind of explain sort of the premise, I guess, of the cache.
Okay.
And then we'll get into the details in a minute.
Yeah. All right. So everybody's saying 77, so it definitely was before me.
Okay.
Ouch.
So, anyways, the premise behind the movie is Burt Reynolds, who plays the bandit. He's one of evidently the craziest drivers out there. He recruits a friend of his to complete a challenge that he's given, and that's to make a beer run from Atlanta to Texarkana and back in 28 hours. I guess just to do it. I can't remember the stakes that were at hand.
Yeah, they were bet. They had a bet.
Yeah, it was just a bet. It's like, hey,
yeah.
you can do it. Yes, I can. Here we go. And they did it. They made it in 28 hours. So
yeah. In fact, they asked that because in the movie, it's Pat McCormick and his I forget the little guy's name, but anyways,
Big Enos and Little Enos.
Big Enos, Little Enos. So
right.
Somebody asked Little Enos, like, well, why? He's like, because he's thirsty. That's why. It's like,
right.
Okay, well, that's the only reason then to do it. So
right. I think there's money involved.
That's geocachers, right? How many times have you been asked, why did you do that? Well, because I could. See if I could.
See if I could.
So that was basically the premise behind the movie. So this was a what is called Smokey and the Bandit tribute cache, and it was placed by Talk 2 AZS. So the 2 is actually a digit. Talk 2 AZS is the cache owner, and I'm just gonna say he did a fantastic job putting this thing together. It was crazy organized on so many different levels.
Yeah, because you had contacted him and told him, hey, we're thinking about doing this, right?
So the idea behind the trip, this was my buddy Larry's idea. He goes by Hockey Hick. He's in the chat room right now.
Cool.
We've just been kind of chatting on Facebook and stuff about a couple different things. And he's like, hey, man, you into geocaching? And I'm like, yeah, I'm into geocaching. He's like, no, but seriously, are you into geocaching? I was like, yeah, Larry, I'm into geocaching. He's like, cool. This is what I want to do for my birthday. And I'm just like, okay. And this is so far outside of anything we'd ever done. I thought that some crazy caches we'd done were like, oh man, this is next level. I climbed a tree like 30 feet to get this cache. I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea. And we'd never cached really in a group. We'd only done it as a family or anything like that before. So all this was new. I'd never driven anywhere or cached. We wanted to just pile into a van with us and like 6-7 of our closest friends and drive to Texas and back in 28 hours. I'm like, yeah, sounds like a plan. I'll take the days off.
Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you have to drive to Georgia. I mean, to Atlanta first. Because how far is it? Basically, roughly from your house to
215.
Okay, like not too bad. Not too bad.
I mean, I used to live down that way. It's really, really close.
Yeah, not too bad.
So we kind of knew some of the area down there and things like that. But it was it was interesting. Just the logistics of us kind of getting ready to go were crazy too.
Yeah. In fact,
So-
you've got a printout there, and we'll kind of reference it a few times.
Yeah.
But you got 50 pages. Is that right?
No, it's probably 50 between all the different pages that everybody.
Oh, okay.
got. Each of us got 9 pages,
Okay.
and that's just the cache page with like I think it's got all the pictures we needed for the AR.
Yeah.
This doesn't even include the logs, but it was 9 printed 8.5 by 11 pages that every one of us got.
Cool. Yeah.
Right.
And we'll kind of talk about that too as we go. And we'll talk about some other stuff you found along the way. But so you had to recruit everyone, and you know, like you said, a Hockey Hick and his wife,
Cash and
and
carry.
then
Yep.
Cash and Carry, and then Craig went along. Half of CNS went along.
Yeah, CNS 143, Craig.
And John, which
John,
is
who's the Goonies.
the Goonies, and then yourself and your fiance.
Yep.
Jessica.
And that was it. We had a couple more people on board, but different things came up. And
Sure.
I didn't recruit any of these people because I didn't know any of these people for the most part when we
Right.
started this. I knew Carrie and Larry a little bit.
Right.
And Larry can confirm this in the chat room. We spoke. He helped me at going caching, kind of get my bearings about me and figure out what was going on. But it's like, hey, let's just get in a van. There's a bunch of people going to show up, and we're going to have a good time. I'm like, okay, let's go.
That's
And we had-
Geocache.
Larry
That's
just
Geocaches
commented,
right
"Didn't
there."
Bill." We had Bill a stuffed Bill the cat that sat on the dash the whole time too.
Awesome.
We had little swag things like that as well. But they did all the getting the people together. They had all cached there before,
Right.
together. You know, in a group. Like I said, we had no idea what we're in for. I
Wow.
still don't know if I know what I'm in for if I ever cache with them again. So,
Sometimes it is the logistics that's one of the hardest components of getting a trip like this together. Getting
Yeah.
everybody to be able to be there, be off, and nothing come up. And
yeah. And Carrie was a big part of that. And I think Larry mentioned that too. She did a lot of the planning and most of the planning, all the planning, got everybody together, say, hey, we're going to meet here. This is the restaurant we're going to go to. She printed out all the pages. They got all the caches together. Hell, she drove most of the time. So, I mean, that was.
Yeah. Save that. Cause I got that.
I'll get you on that one.
That alone is worth the show. Is to hear about Carrie, and that whole thing is a great story. But all right, so to do this AR cache, there's a couple things that you need to do. Number one is you have to go to a very specific starting point.
Right.
Okay. Based on the movie. It's based on the movie too.
Correct. We had to go to it's Lakewood, what used to be Lakewood Fairgrounds, which is actually where they filmed the movie
Right.
back in '77. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fairground scenes where they're all at the fairground, that's where that was filmed.
Right.
Gates were locked, couldn't get it actually inside there. It's a actual film studio down in Georgia now. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, so we had to start there. And basically we go down there and find particular set of digits or something of that nature, type it in the HP Reveal app, and then hit start, and that's when the clock started.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about so this one is it doesn't use Metaverse at all, right? At first I thought it did. It uses HP Reveal.
Right, which is now kind of problematic for the whole cache.
Yeah, because HP Reveal is kind of on life support.
Right. So according to the cache owner, I think he says it on the cache page. We know that there's problems with HP Reveal. We know it's not going to be around probably forever in this kind of level of its existence, so to speak. Right. So he wants to keep it going. Doesn't necessarily know how it's going to keep going, but going to try to modify it to keep this alive.
Right. So could he? I believe he would be able to rebuild it in Metaverse.
Right. And
that's not republishing the cache. He's just giving a different option for it.
Right. And I think that's probably the best case scenario right now. So unless something else comes up that's, better, or if there's a different way to do it. But it was fantastic. I mean, it worked pretty much flawlessly for us on this trip.
Yeah. So tell people about how maybe you can show the first page, but you have to you have to pull the page up, and you've got to have the HP Reveal app. It's similar to Metaverse, and then
Right.
it's an AR. It's an AR app, and you hold up. There you go. So it's your game status. So you have to hold that page up, and then the Lakewood Fairgrounds one. Right. Very good, Josh.
Right.
So you hold that up, and then you go ahead.
We'd hold that up to our phones, and the reason we printed it off is because otherwise you'd have to have a computer or somebody else's phone. And then everybody's got to do that back and forth, and it just takes too much time.
Right.
So Carrie had the forethought to have these printed out, so we get to Lakewood Fairgrounds where it's kind of in that particular geolocation.
Yeah.
Scan that when we're close enough, and then it says, "Hey, here's what you're looking for and what you need to type in." You're going to have to type in an answer at each particular location you go to continue to the next step, and for us to let you know where we're going next.
Right. That's the wild thing, is because you had to. So you click start, and
Right.
the clock is running, and you've got 28 hours.
Yeah, and it says you got 28 hours starting now. And anytime you want to check and see throughout the trip, like even if you're not at a station, you'd scan your game status here, and it would tell you, hey, you currently have this much time left. To be back in 28 hours, you need to average this speed, or whatever the case may be. So it was cool to keep us updated like that.
That is cool.
That is a well done AR experience.
Listen,
already,
it was even cooler because the cache owner periodically would be back and forth emailing us, say, "Hey, it looks like you guys have checked in here. Keep going, you're doing great." Or if we had any issues, like for that 28 hours, he's with us.
That's incredible.
Very cool.
Super cool. Super cool.
Yeah,
we let them know we were coming down ahead of time and everything. I'm sure Carrie probably said, "Hey, look, we're coming down to do this cache. Anything we need to know? Anything, just kind of gave him a heads up and so forth." And we weren't the first to find. We were the third group to find. So
but y'all were the fastest that also found caches along the way.
There was one group did it for first to find, but they also did some caches along the way. I think that was Monkey Tiger's group.
Yeah.
He did that one first, clearly. In Georgia.
Monkey Tiger.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I didn't want to do it with as much charisma as you. I wanted to let you have that one for yourself. But so they got it first and got some caches along the way. The second group that did it for time and finished like in 21 hours, I think it was. And then I'll tell you our time in a few minutes, but we're kind of in the middle there.
Right. So you click start, and then the other cool thing, Jesse, about this is that you kind of don't know which place you basically you're going to Texarkana and back, but he makes it so that you can't sort of armchair it. You got to go to a certain spot.
So there's 10 different things you can scan, different images you can scan. They got different welcome centers, different truck stops, and things like that. But you don't know which one you got to go check in at. So when you get the answer where you're at, then it'll tell you, "Hey, look, you're going to go to this truck stop, or you're going to go to this state line or welcome center, or whatever the case may be," and then figure out, "Hey, that's where I have to go." Not just, "Hey, I'm going to go look for this." And I mean, you can't. I don't think there's any way you can. I mean, unless somebody's like really good at backdooring that system to figure out where you're supposed to go, unless you're actually there doing it.
Right, because
which is what I love about this.
Yeah, because it's not every You're right, because Josh, it's not every one of them. So some of them you actually end up skipping.
Right, and you don't see the questions ahead of time. So the question arrives when you get to that spot, and then when you scan that on the app. So it's like a double layer kind of security from the armchair stuff.
So was everybody on the trip running the same AR experience? Like you were all scanning at each location just to make sure?
Yes. And we had to do that in order to show up on the official log, because however he's got it set up, we've all got to check in at each location in order to make it work. And sometimes the phone's like, "Man, I don't have a signal. All right, we'll just start walking around or scan this until we get it. Use my paper, get in this sunlight at night. I mean, you got to have a lot of light, because this was a around the clock kind of thing. So, it was. There were challenges as far as that goes, but it for the most part it worked out okay.
So y'all started. What time of the day do you think you started the actual click start? Roughly.
Yeah, there's definitely a strategy to it, and different groups started at different times in order to kind of make it work.
Right.
We chose to start early, so we came down to Atlanta on Friday. Met for lunch. Got the van. We rented a van, got it ready, hooked up a CB radio inside or a ham radio inside.
That's awesome.
Just to complete the experience. Hooked up all our GoPros, hooked up all our stuff. Had dinner, then stayed at this hotel. The next morning, we all got up and left. We probably started around 6:30.
Okay.
I think Carrie and Larry can tell me about that.
I mentioned in the chat room exact time, but basically
around 6:30.
So pretty early. Okay, so then it
was still dark.
Hit the road. Carrie's driving.
Yep.
At this point, and then I'll ask you when she's not driving because this is fascinating. So she's currently going to do the first little bit of driving. Okay, so just to give everybody paint the picture.
Carrie's good, right? So she's good at driving, and she says, as long as I'm awake and I'm comfortable, let's let it ride.
All right.
So she's comfortable until about.
Well, hang on. Keep that. Keep it.
I'll see you later. I'll see you later.
Yep. So Carrie at this point is driving. She's good.
Yep.
We got her started.
She's good.
And so you're starting the trip, and you've already kind of got, like you said, between Larry and everybody else, you've kind of got sort of a geocaching plan to do along because as you do the check-ins, I mean, you're driving, you might as well do a couple of the caches.
Yeah, absolutely.
Might as well.
I mean, it's a caching trip, so of course.
And like I said, I'd never been on a caching trip, so I don't know their system or how things are planned or anything like that. Right. So a couple weeks out, we were Facebook messaging back and forth, and they said, hey, are there any particular caches you want to get here or there? So we kind of got a list together, I suppose. And then they had it printed out. I think it was from GSAC, but they had it printed out like a list. Here's the caches we're shooting for. And I'm like, man, that's a lot of caches. And we got further into our trip and like, man, that really was a lot of caches. And we had some good experiences, great experiences, and then we had to kind of alter our plans a little bit later in the trip too. So,
yeah.
But we had a pretty good list to start out with.
Yeah, and so one of them you stopped at was called it's a CIA Article 131 A12 Blackbird Virtual Reward.
It was awesome.
And it's at an aircraft graveyard. So I guess kind of tell people, fill in a little bit, because you were in the military, right?
Larry was too. Larry was an Air Force plane mechanic.
And he was he Air Force plane mechanic. Well, what branch?
I was in the Marines. I did chemical gas mask stuff. That was my gig.
Cool. Well, thank you, and both you and Larry for serving for us.
Always appreciate that. Thank you.
You bet. And you got to this aircraft graveyard museum.
It was great. We didn't know what to expect. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great idea for a virtual. And it's something we talked about. Jesse and I talked about on the show before. Is we hoped that people would pick quality virtual rewards, and so this one I would agree with would have been. It still is. You can go find it. It's in the show notes for people if they want to go check out this virtual reward. But it's at a.
Which, by the way, before we go too far, we haven't actually mentioned.
Oh yeah, we should.
The GC of this cache. Yeah. So people can play along if they want to. We have it in the chat room, but just for the audio listeners.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I got so excited. I got ahead of myself.
I know. Do you want to do it? There you go. Yeah,
GC7 multi-puzzle. It really is kind of a multi-puzzle. Yeah. Multi-puzzle Jasmer Fizzy. MPJF. Multi-puzzle Jasmer Fizzy are the letters. So it's GC7 MPJF. Okay. And then you got to the one we're talking about now is GC7 Bison 63 container.
Right.
No container, but you get the idea. Virtual aircraft graveyard museum.
Yeah, it was here's a picture of us at the cache. You can see that.
Awesome. Yes. There's a Blackbird. It's an actual SR-71 Blackbird behind you, which is crazy.
This one's
Very
actually
cool.
an A12.
Oh, that's an A12. Okay, it looks a lot like a
It's
Blackbird.
Lockheed A12. But
A12, right?
yeah, we showed up. It was pretty early. Since we started early, it didn't take us very long to get to Birmingham. We
Right.
started looking for Alabama caches and some that were kind of on the list. And we went there and kind of like driving around Birmingham. There were some detours, some construction, and we got in. We just kind of pulled into the area. I was like, "Hey, there's an aircraft museum, kind of a hangar near the airport." And then we kept going to where GZ was at.
Right.
We're like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing!" There's planes lined up behind this fence for probably a half mile or so.
Wow.
And the Blackbird's right there on the corner. Like, wow, that's incredible.
That is amazing.
So,
you don't
that was definitely on the list. I think that was one of Larry's must-haves on the trip. And
right.
so
being a mechanic, yeah.
Yep. So Carrie, being the driver, she decides to she's the best at finding parking spots. And I'm gonna clue you in on what she does with her parking spots. She gets positioned to where if there's a problem, she's ready to get out.
That's good.
She's ready to go. So she maneuvers the van in the position of least resistance when you're having to leave in a hurry.
Right.
So she found a spot and stayed with the van. We walked over and did cache as a team. Wow. And took the pictures and things like that. And the picture of the plane and whatever's on that sign that I just showed too it has nothing to do with the actual answers we had to send.
Right, for that virtual. Right.
You're not giving the spoilers, yeah.
I will not on that one. Nope.
No, and so, you find that one. Now, did you just kind of when you did because you did a lot of caching on this trip?
Right.
Did you? Is your group do it differently? Do you all kind of make a note and then log them later, or do some people? Because I'm a log now person. I go through and I guess people kind of get annoyed sometimes. Like, let's move on to the next one, and you can log that later. It's like, no, just take me a minute, just a minute. Okay, I got it.
Well, I like logging it immediately, so I had something queued up in
me too.
In CGO, I had the template ready to go.
Right.
And then I always like to, whenever I'm doing something like that, and I'm doing a lot on the trip, I'll have my template ready, but I'll also write a couple notes below to mix it up and to give. I don't want it to be just the same thing over and over again for every cache,
Right.
So you make it a little bit different.
We kind of do that too a lot. As well, it'll be somewhat, cut and paste, but then I usually try to tweak it a little bit. So you're right. So I'm with you.
But we had one person driving, and the rest of the people were riding along for the most part, and in different configurations. So we had a lot of time, and with our mobile devices and the way we had things charging, we could do that without worrying about running out of power or anything like that too.
Yeah.
So.
And it's good because, sometimes on those road trips you tend to forget ones, or if you log them when you get home. Some people like to log them when they get home, and they forget.
And some people just completely forget to log them, like I read in your book.
I did that again recently, so I'll never learn. I can't help it.
It's okay.
Now, like, because I don't want to get too far off track here, but like Jesse, when you showed me your phone when you did that trip, and you had all these caches that hadn't been logged yet, but you had put them in cache.
Saved them offline,
saved them offline. So that's not a bad way to do it either. That way you have them all. They're all queued.
Yeah, they're all saved in there. I was sending you like progress pics. It's like 600, 700, 800.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But they just log them later because you can hit the send now later. So send now versus. All right. So on to the oldest in Mississippi.
That was cool.
Yeah. So you picked out some really. I mean, looking through this list of caches that you picked, I mean, I'm impressed. You picked out some really great stuff.
I'm not taking credit for any of that. I didn't have the forethought, but that was like, I mean, it's GC90. It's only got 2 extra digits. I mean, that was I think October 2000.
Yeah,
that's the oldest. I not found it past that old.
You can't pass that up.
No,
GC90.
I think almost everybody needed it for their Jasmine. So
And if you want to ever do a double Jasmer, I mean, you're going to need
Oh, yeah.
GC90.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And I mentioned in the show notes, and there's a lot of like little collateral caches, I would call them.
Uh-huh.
Like we're going for this one, but hey, you know what? There's 2 or 3 others there too. So
Travel Bug Hotel there is really cool.
That was the first one we found. We found the Travel Bug Hotel first because it was up the same trail that we were headed up.
Yeah, right.
And then I was having, and the reason we had to postpone this show so much is because I was having some knee problems and medical problems and stuff like that. Yeah. I was wearing the brace the whole time, and we had to hike up a pretty significant hill to go find that GC90. So, but I'm like, I'm here. I got a brace. I'm not going to not find it, right?
That's right. He's not going to. Yeah, you're not going to not find it.
Right.
I'm a Marine. I'm going to move on here, buddy.
It hurt a little bit, but it was definitely worth it to make the hike and get one that old. So
that's awesome. Yeah. So you grabbed a few in that park, and that's cool. That's a great spot. Now, at this point, I don't know, but Jesse, I don't know about you, but I would be like, hey, the clock's running. We got to get out of here. We got to start. We got to hit the road. I don't know if Jessica's like, was Jessica the one that's like, we got to stay on time, people. We got to stay on time.
She was in Oklahoma or in Texas, rather.
Right. When we get about Oklahoma, yeah. But
yeah.
So was the group kind of like, okay, let's
that was still early enough in the trip where we're like, all right, we got this, whatever, and just get what we can.
You're like, yeah, no problem. Well, because in the movie it says that it's 900 miles. It's not 900 miles, but it's I guess for the sake of a movie, they wanted to make it sound like it's more like 622 roughly, give or take, depending on the way you go. But it's about 600 miles to Texarkana and back. So.
Right. So yeah, it was
600 there and 600 back, so 1,200 total. Roughly.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely doable. There's 100 different articles online about, hey, can this be done? I saw a bunch of different websites when we were actually looking into this about, hey, can this actually be done in 28 hours? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Now you know.
Yeah.
No. So it works out good because in the movie, he's getting chased. Burt Reynolds is chased in all sorts of different directions. They stop for various reasons. There's a lot of distractions that happen in the movie that kind of add up to, and so it kind of fit that you guys did, similarly, you're stopping for all these caches. So it kind of fit the
right.
So
we had a terrible lunch stop shortly after the GC90.
Oh no!
I didn't put this in the show notes. We stopped at like a Crystal Burger because it's like, all right, we've been driving, we just have to have something. And it was one of the only restaurants at the exit. And it was probably one of the worst experiences I've ever had at a Crystal.
Oh, no.
Love Crystal, don't get me wrong.
Right.
It was, we got there.
Still in Mississippi?
That was in Mississippi, yeah. And it was so many people. One of the doors was locked, so you could only get in and out one of the doors to the restaurant.
Taking their sweet time to
skipping over our orders. Direwolf 821 just said, no, you're supposed to stop at a biker bar. Trust me, man. It would have been a better outcome than the Crystal at that point, for sure.
Right. Exactly. You have to stop at a biker bar and then you run over all the bikes after you leave. But
we finally because it took so long, I think Jessica, my meal was the last one to come out. I'm just like, all right, just grab it. Just keep it in the bag. We're out of here. And we ate it as we kept going.
Get on the way.
Yeah.
So the next one I want to mention, you found this one. It's called that's the name of the cache, but it's
that
was
kind of completely unexpected.
Okay, so what happened at that one?
So while we're actually a couple days out, I took a look at the map and realized that we're going through the town where my grandparents live.
Oh, cool.
And I haven't seen my grandparents that live down there in over 20 years.
Mm.
So the whole time I'm figuring out kind of where can we make this work? Can we make this work? And I messaged the group a couple weeks out. I said, hey, just to let you know, my grandparents live there. I was like, if there's any way we can stop and like meet up with them, it would be just unreal. It'd be unbelievable. So from that point at the Crystal, I'm calling my grandma and saying, hey, where you guys at? Would be the best place to stop? And they said, hey, Pearl, Mississippi is the best place to stop.
Right.
So I'm on the phone the whole time, looking for caches. I'm zooming in, zooming out, trying to find what's a good one, which one's been found, which ones haven't been found, because now I know where it's supposed to be. So for that next, say, hour and a half from there to Pearl,
right,
I had to find something. It would be a good place for my elderly grandparents to drive and meet me, because they don't need to be driving that much right now.
Right. Gotcha. You bet.
Some place they actually know. I can't say, hey, go in the back parking lot of this church, and we're going to be in the woods back behind there. You can't do that for the grandparents, right?
Yeah, you can't do that. You got to pick something. You got to pick something easier than that.
Yeah. So we decided to make it the cache at this public library. And we pulled it. We timed it pretty good, because we were pulling into the parking lot and kind of met my grandparents pulling into the parking lot.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well. Yeah, so it's perfect timing. We drove around back and kind of met in the back parking lot. And the rest of our group, Jessica and I stayed and talked to my grandparents. The rest of our group went and got the LPC that was out front. And they signed it for the team and everything like that. And I got to catch up with them for 10 or 15 minutes on our trip, awesome. Which was it was awesome. It was so good to see him again, especially after 20 years. I cried in the van,
Oh man, that's awesome.
That's great. I'm just like this for
right.
I couldn't believe it. And like I said, they're elderly. Who's to say I get to see them again, So that was kind of it was an awesome stop, the best LPC ever.
Right. A great bonus. I mean,
that was the bonus cache. I think everybody, I thank my crew for that too. It was, they didn't have to do that. We didn't have to stop. We could have gone for other things. That stop didn't necessarily prevent us from other stuff later on specifically, but for you know what, we're going to make this happen. And we're going to make this happen for you, me, not having been, and Jessica too, not having been part of their little caching group before. It was amazing. So
yeah, that's incredible.
I'm super grateful for that one.
Yeah, that is great.
It's probably the only LPC I've ever given a favorite point to.
Right. Yeah, that is something, but that's a good reason to give a favorite point because of the experience. And
hey, it's your favorite point. Use it how you want.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And what a great, that's such a great bonus that you got to do that.
That was the coolest by far.
Yep. All right. So we're going to jump ahead a little bit. We're going to Louisiana, and I am a fan. I may not necessarily look like somebody who might be a fan. I don't know, maybe not, but I love Duck Dynasty, and I've watched it really since the beginning, and I've always. I don't know. I've just felt some people don't like the show. I kind of think that they're very endearing. And we'll talk about actually a cache that Susan and I found that you found, which is kind of cool. But you got to actually take a moment and you went by Duck Commander.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go there and take a photo. And it's worth, if you ever watch the movie or watch the show, it's always kind of fun to pop in. You got to get a picture because it's so iconic.
Right. It was pretty cool. We were literally on the interstate about to get into West Monroe, Louisiana, and John, the Goonies, he's sitting up in front in the bench seat in front of Jessica and I. We're in the back, and he and Craig are here, and Carrie's still driving, and Larry's.
Wait. So Carrie is still driving at this point. So all right,
still driving.
So Carrie's still driving. For people that are wondering, she's still driving at this point.
Still driving.
Okay.
So that's Atlanta to Louisiana at this point.
So far.
All right.
On the driver's seat. Gotcha.
So John is searching his map. I'm searching my map. I kind of see the same thing he's seeing, but I didn't say anything. And John said, "Hey, Duck Dynasty's like right around the corner." So
it is. It's right there.
It's like right off the interstate.
Yeah.
And Larry's like, "Well, that's pretty cool. Maybe we should stop there." And everybody's like, "Yeah." So it was completely like non-planned at all. So we took a detour, went on a couple little side roads right off the interstate, and stopped by. And sure enough, I mean, it looks just like it does on the TV show.
Oh yeah, yeah. Got a picture right in front of the sign.
Yeah, we did. It's the main part of the building has been turned into a giant gift shop.
Oh wow. Okay.
With
Well,
all
you
their merchandise and stuff. They
can't
still got some stuff in the back, but it's like
can't blame them.
it's but we bought a bunch of stuff. We bought like
Right.
stickers, postcards. Jessica got a pair of sunglasses because she forgot hers at home. So
There
you
you go.
gotta have something.
Right.
So
How
and-
far are you into the trip at this point?
oh my gosh.
Because you got to be many, many hours in.
Oh yeah, it's many hours. I mean, it was getting towards. We're probably 10 hours in at that point, I would imagine. Let's say 6. No, it wasn't 10 because it was still daylight. Maybe 8, 9 hours, 8 hours or so. So
That's a lot of caching already.
yeah, we were doing a lot. It was Jessica's on. She's on the chat room. She says it was before dinner, but later in the day.
Because you started approximately 6:30, so it's right before dinner time. So
Right.
okay, cool.
8, 9, 10 anyway. So yeah.
Yeah. So there's a cache in West Monroe called Beards Welcomed Here.
Yeah.
GC 59 Bison 6 puzzle. And it's iconic because it is, if you ever watch the show, it's the restaurant that is visited a lot in the show.
Right.
And it is. It's not, it's not like a stage set. They actually go there. And so
it boggles my mind that there wasn't one actually at Duck Commander and Buck Commander, like maybe shaped like a duck hanging up or something.
Right. No geocache there.
We had to get one that was kind of themed while we were in town.
Right. Yeah. And so the funny thing is that when Susan and I went to Pensacola to go do the Geo tour in Pensacola, I had, and many of us have been in this boat. I had a Trackable, and it was a Duck Commander shot glass with the Trackable attached to it and all that good stuff. And it wanted to go to Duck Commander, and I'm like, okay. And then, like you said, there's no cache at the Duck Commander, but I thought, oh, this is cool. This is the restaurant that is in the show that they go to quite often. So I'm like, and I looked, I'm like, oh, this cache actually can hold. I mean, you can't always find a cache that can hold a Trackable, but it can hold the Trackable. And so we stopped at that one. We got that cache. I was able to drop off the Trackable. I got it pretty close to that's as close as I could basically get to Duck Commander.
Right.
And then, of course,
it was one of the closest for sure.
Right. And then, of course, what happened, I kind of kept an eye on it a little bit, and somebody stole it and never logged it. And like, dang it. Because then you feel responsible a little bit because, like, I'm the one that, but I did all I could. I put it in the, so anyway. So you and I both found that cache. That's cool.
That's awesome.
Now,
it's always pretty cool to find somebody else's name that you know or that you see from the show. If I'm not mistaken, I saw a couple regular names like in some of these caches. I'm like, wow, I even found one this past weekend. We were in Tennessee. Purple Turtles had stamped right there next to
that's awesome.
This cache we found in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee. So
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I've had that happen a couple times too. You're like, oh my gosh, this next one though is kind of cool because of hopefully some people at least watched the movie, or seen it. But it's called Breaker 19. It's GC1 virtual 79 query, yeah. GC1V 79Q Breaker 19, and it is because for all you youngsters out there, there used to be a thing called Citizens Band Radio.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still around. Do truckers still use CBs?
It's a thing, man.
They're still doing it? I guess they will.
Listen,
I guess Jeepers still do too.
It was.
Do they Jeepers do? Okay, cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
That cache was amazing. We pull up and we pull up this business and it says CB shop. And I'm like, this is a thing. This is a thing. My dad's a trucker. My dad's driven trucks for years. I know what a CB radio is, but there's a shop that's open after 6 p.m. or so that evening.
Still open.
They're still open and they're repairing CBs in there while we're watching.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So outside and I'm going to give this one away. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
outside the CB shop, there's a giant telephone pole, and next to the telephone pole, there's a little bracket, and there's a CB radio hanging on it.
That's
So
awesome.
GZ took you to a defunct CB radio outside the shop, and then you got to figure out how to get it open and figure out what's inside. But
Awesome.
That's cool.
Awesome.
that was the cache in the cache container. It was awesome. So since we were there, we went inside. We thanked them for the geocache. Just being
Right.
cordial. We took pictures inside. We pet their dog. All that kind of stuff. So
That's awesome.
that was a really cool experience. And me being a service guy, I work on bicycles for a
Right.
living.
Right.
I like the service aspect of it, which
Sure.
is super cool. So I took a picture of their service menu for all the prices and labor rates they have for the different repairs. So that was it was just super neat to stop in and say hi, and it was a very, very unique style cache that fit the
Incredible.
location. Yeah.
So at this point, pretty late, and then not too long after this, you pull into Texarkana, Texas, which I just drove through it a few hours ago, coming home, thinking about you in the show. Went through Texarkana, and of course in the movie, they go to Texarkana and they show up, and it's at the wrong time, so they have to break in
Yep.
and fill the 18-wheeler with Coors beer.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about the way Coors was back then, go read about it, because it was interesting. We don't think about these things now, but back then we don't have time now to talk about this, but my parents love Coors beer, and you couldn't get Coors in San Antonio. We used to joke about you can't get Coors in San Antonio.
That's
and
right.
so there were parts of the world you couldn't get Coors beer. Part of it was that Coors beer has to be refrigerated. It can never, because of the process, it can never go through non-refrigeration. It was made a certain way. And so, Coors made up near where Jesse is, Golden, Colorado. And anyway, so things have changed now in the days, but you were, at this point, you've done, how many of the AR stop points were you required? Because it's different every time.
Yeah.
How many AR stop points were you at?
3, 4. The Texarkana post office was our 5th.
Okay.
Was
Good.
our official 5th stop.
Right. So you had to stop there, and then
we had to answer another question that was required by visiting that particular site.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool things that go on there. It's the only, I think, office that they said is the only federal building that straddles state lines.
Yes.
Which is super cool. I mean, you're literally standing on the state line, and the building's divided in half. So it was well, not divided in half, but you can see half on this side, half on that side.
Half in Arkansas, half Texas. Yeah.
Yeah, it was super neat. I mean, the road that led right up to it is State Line Road, I think, and it literally was on the state line. So it's a pretty unique little town.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
It was sleepy. Like nothing's open. Of course, it's 8 p.m. on a Saturday night, but there's like one bar over here that might be open, and we did see a beer store, and we were about this close to going in there. But I'll say our better judgment, which is our better halves, said
no.
You were overruled.
Yeah,
probably a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you're not going in there for beer.
That's awesome. It's awesome.
There goes the whole trip. It's over. You're just on the side of the road now.
Yeah.
Right.
Nope. Yep.
God, if that was a requirement. Oh man.
Oh yeah. No, it's already incredible, to think about. So yeah, there's if anybody ever gets a chance to go to Texarkana, there are some really cool caches. Susan and I we've gone to Texarkana and just done a weekend of just geocaching in Texarkana, because you get these kind of crazy, like I was telling you about. There's a virtual. It's one of the old virtuals, but there's a sign near downtown where you can stand and you can be put a foot in Texas, foot in Arkansas, and you can put the sign behind you. There's a sign that you can put sort of in the picture that shows, half and half, because literally the town is literally kind of built really right on the edge. So so at this point, and then you found a virtual. There's also cool spot similar to the one I was mentioning, called By State.
Right. Yeah, it was just something in town that I grabbed on the go. I was able to kind of figure out what the answer was as we were driving around.
Right.
On our way out of town.
Right.
Not a super memorable one, it sounds like.
Nah, that one wasn't. It didn't float my boat.
But it's kind of, go ahead. I was going to say, it's just kind of neat that they put all these along that little area.
Yeah. I was, so in the notes you put that it wasn't very memorable. And I was like, man, that sounds familiar. I went back and looked, and I found it like 5 years ago, but I couldn't remember it either. So.
Yeah.
It must not have been super grabbing or whatever, but it's still those ones, you're going to still get it when you're going through town. So,
yeah, it gave you like a little bit of history about that particular location, but nothing that I would write home about.
Yeah. I mean, good cache because it's pretty neat, the concept or whatever, but
it's virtual. I'm going to get it.
It's a virtual. You're going to get it. So.
All right, so you've got a decision at this point. You're so close to Oklahoma. I mean, you really are real close, but you got to make a decision.
And nobody's got that state yet. None of us in the group have got Oklahoma.
But you got the clock is ticking. The clock is ticking, and so you got to make a decision. You got to decide. All right, let's run up to Oklahoma. Get a cache, get that count.
The closest one in Oklahoma, and we had 2 on the list. So we had 2 planned from every state, according to what they said. And we're like, all right,
it's crying out.
How long is it going to take? So we pull it up on Google Maps, and from Texarkana, because we at this point we're officially kind of halfway there, right?
Right.
So we pulled it up on Google Maps, and we looked at the time on HP Reveal, and we're like, man, that'd be cutting it close. It was literally the closest one from that point to get into Oklahoma and get would be an hour drive out and an hour drive back on course.
2 hours is a long time when you're on the clock.
When you're on the clock, we looked at it and we thought about it. And we're like, you know what? If we did that and didn't make too many more stops, we might have like half an hour left. Like get back to Atlanta and have a 30-minute gap that like, let's hope nothing goes wrong. Let's hope we don't run out of gas. Let's hope we don't get a flat tire.
Yeah, no traffic. Nothing.
All the wood
nothing could go wrong at that point.
Traffic, no construction, nothing like that. We might make it.
That's
so. And Jessica, she just wrote in the chat room. She says I was panicked about time, and she absolutely was panicked about time. She was like, ain't gonna work. She's like, nope, not gonna happen. We'll never make it. We're not going to Oklahoma. Sorry.
Right.
And Carrie's
the voice of reason.
Carrie's doing the same thing. She's like, I got her back. She's like, we're not going to Oklahoma. There's no way. And they were absolutely right. I mean, our final time cut it pretty close. If we had added 2 hours to that, it would have been.
You've been down to you don't want So better heads prevailed, which were the wives and fiance. So
Larry, it was his birthday, so he made the final call, and and he said, "Look, he's like, we'll go get a couple more or another cache here around the area." And then we'll head back and pick up the other ones and head back. So that was a smart decision on his part for sure.
Oh yeah.
Very awesome. And so so you found a cool one. You found this military surplus store.
Yeah. You got the details on that one.
It's GC 799 container, or then it's GC 799 CC.
Yeah.
To the ones who didn't come home, and that sounds like it's a great one that you guys found. It's a military surplus store. It's next to a complete.
It's near a military base.
Right. It's next to a complete F-111. If you've ever seen one of those.
So we saw an F-111 at the Blackbird cache.
Right.
And Larry's like, "Whoa, that's super cool." And then we got to this other cache that was just a random one down a frontage road off the interstate near Texarkana in Texas.
Right.
And we roll up and there's an F-111 there. And he's like, "Man, this is insane for us to have like scrapped the whole Oklahoma idea and then come see these planes, which I've worked on these planes before."
Yeah.
To see another one right next to the cache location that we picked is
perfect.
It was perfect. It was a great replacement for that one. The other thing, it's a military surplus store, and they had pallets upon pallets of ammo cans sitting out front. Some of them were fenced in, some of them were not fenced in. We didn't take any, although man, it was hard.
You're like, oh, look at all the ammo cans. This is
We
awesome.
almost were like, let's leave a note on the door and like
Right.
slap cash under the door, and we'll.
Right.
I don't know what the going rate is for this giant green box, but
yeah,
maybe they'll be okay with it, or just we'll call with a card later. There's some cool stuff there, like out front, that we can kind of still see. So
pallets of ammo cans. Yeah,
we had no idea. We didn't look at the pictures, the photos that were in the logs or anything. So we had no idea that plane was there when we pulled up, and it was perfect. That was just a great replacement cache, since we're kind of a little bit let down about not going to get Oklahoma.
Sure. Oh man, very cool. So now you're starting the trek back, and of course by now I'm sure, I mean, somebody's been driving now for quite a while, other than Carrie, right?
Carrie's still driving at this point.
Whoa! Wait a minute. Carrie is still the driver.
She's still going.
All this time,
like Energizer Bunny, kind of still going, right?
She is still driving.
Yeah, still going.
That's incredible. Still going. All right, so Carrie's still in the driver's seat.
We're all checking in. We're all asking, "Hey, how you doing?" "Oh, I'm great. I'm doing fantastic." Still going. So
that's awesome.
She's like, she said, "I'll let you know when," and I'm like,
"All right.
I don't know that's coming."
All right, we're gonna keep checking in with her. So yeah,
so we noodled around the northeast corner of Texas at that point. We kind of got backwards and lost, and we're like, oh, we can just go a couple more miles and be on the interstate, but
no,
we had to go under the interstate and around and down.
It's Texarkana
down the dirt road, and we killed like 45 minutes just trying to get back to the interstate. So we killed some time there. Thank goodness we had that time.
Yeah,
right.
Time. Yeah, it's a little confusing. I've seen it. And I've gotten a little turned around too, because there's a couple not big interstates, but there's a couple highways that come together, and it's like a big spaghetti that's not really.
Yeah, it was under the interstate, around down the dirt road. I think the name of the place was Deer Lick, Texas, or something.
Right.
Which is like, all right. I mean, I grew up in a place called 6 Mile, South Carolina, so I understand like what these small towns are with like maybe a flashing yellow light, but this was like, this was, it was sketchy.
So I gotta get back on the road, and so now, and so so you're headed back, and again, so once you leave that one, the same kind of deal. The AR cache is saying, okay, now you got to go to, because you're starting the process of going backwards in a sense.
Yep.
And it's going to give you another place to log, because you're 5 in.
Yeah.
You got to do, and you don't have, you have no idea how many.
So if you look at the cache page, and in the order that it is, that 5th one is Texarkana, and there's only 2 more after that.
Okay.
So literally our next stop that we have to go to, I just gave it away, but it's easy. It's the Georgia Welcome Center. So we just booked.
At that point, that's where you're go.
You're just hauling at that point,
But we still had caches on our list that we had to get, or that
of course
we were intending to get, because that's the way we do.
Yeah. So there's one this is interesting. And I love these kind. There's a couple of them that are in the world. I know, Jesse, you've gone to the Four Corners, which is ironic. When Susan and I we went to the Four Corners, it was closed. It's like, how can you close 4 corners of a state? But it's actually managed by I think it's probably managed by some it's a Native American tribe, I think, that manages. And so at the time, because it's like a visitor center, and the visitor center was closed, so we couldn't really get to. Now you can; it's all renovated. But you guys got to go to a sort of a confluence of 3 states. You went to the Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana,
where they all meet.
They all meet, and there's what's cool is, and Susan and I found Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. That's another merging of 3 states.
Right.
And that one's down a dirt road. It's not mentioned anywhere. It's not, there's no, you'd think there'd be a sign that goes, "Hey, there is a like a monument there, and there's a thing on the ground and all that." It's like, this is the beauty of geocaching, is the fact that, this one's a little different, but a lot of them, it's like they're not really labeled very well, but geocachers know about it. And so this one's cool because there's a traditional, a virtual, and a benchmark.
Yeah, and we found a letterbox that was like a non-geocaching letterbox there on accident,
Right.
So there's literally like 4 different things if you're tracking all those things to get at that one spot. And it was, like you said, not necessarily down a dirt road, but it was not a great road. And there's a little bar like right around the corner. And we're like, all right, we're literally within like spitting distance from this bar, and we're looking in the dark. This is dark at this point.
Yeah, it's nighttime.
Oh, it's black. It's black. So we're parked on the side of the road. Carrie's angled out like she knows how to be. So
she can get out. So she can get out quick.
I think Jessica stayed in the van with her on this one, and all the guys got out. Yeah. And we're digging through the bushes, through the trees. We found the benchmark first because it was pretty obvious. And then Larry showed me another app he uses to find benchmarks. It's not the actual geocaching app. I think it's I'm not sure exactly what it is. I can't remember.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'll post it in the chat room. But he showed me the app, showed me how to take the picture properly and stuff like that. So I'm learning a little bit as I go as far as that goes.
Right.
So we got the benchmark. Found that letterbox, which was kind of near the benchmark. I got the virtual, which is at the state line.
Cool.
And then we dug around for a few more minutes and finally found the traditional.
Right.
Just inside the woods there. So
wow, incredible.
It was a pretty sketchy little spot, but it was really cool. Bench map is what he said it was. Bench map.
Yeah. Bench map.
I never used that before. I had no idea, and that was a cool learning experience. And that's something I can say about the whole trip. It was a big learning experience, and really kind of I learned a lot. I know Jessica learned a lot too. It was just super cool about how much we learned from guys who've been doing this for well over a decade or so now.
Right. So back on the road, and
I think that was the last one we really had to find. We wanted to make sure we had the daylight, and that's why we kind of planned the trip the way we did.
Yeah.
I know some people might leave and just drive all night, or some people might start super early and then drive mostly during the day, depending on how they kind of plan it. We planned it so we'd have as much daylight as possible to find the
first part.
We wanted to
find.
That was kind of our strategy.
Good. Yeah. And then at this point, the trip gets to be sort of that slog is a good word for it. We add that to the list of words that need to be added to the. It's a slog at that point, because
that cache was like at the Louisiana border, so we're officially in Louisiana, headed back.
Yeah, headed back.
Right.
And you got all those hours that you got to drive back, and surely at this point somebody has been driving other than Carrie. Still driving?
Carrie's still driving.
Carrie's still driving.
Yeah, she's still driving. She says she's got had a sweet tea IV going. I've never seen so much sweet tea in my life.
She's got a sweet tea IV. So
she's not sweet tea. As long as she's got a sweet tea. I mean, we made specific sweet tea stops at times.
Right.
Hey, I got to get a sweet tea. I'm like, cool. We can get a sweet tea.
Yeah. If you're driving that long, whatever you need to stop for.
And I was talking to Gary about this the other day. I was like, dude, she pulled more hours than truckers are legally allowed to drive.
Yes.
If we had to stop and show a logbook to anybody, we're done.
Yeah, there's no way.
It'd be like a real Smokey and the Bandit experience.
Absolutely.
It was. So back on the road.
She did the best she could, and it was amazing.
That's crazy.
Now, some people, so I think you told me too, that's like some people might be, at this point, some people might do some sleeping, but you try to keep at least like one person awake, I think, to kind of keep Carrie company.
So I kind of planned that I was going to drive next or at some point during the night.
Right.
So before we got to Texarkana, I tried to lay down in the back seat, take a nap. And it didn't really work, but at least I had my eyes closed so they wouldn't be so tired.
Yeah.
And other people were taking naps throughout, especially as it got dark. There were more people kind of nodding off and doing that. We tried to
Sure.
at least be somewhat ready just in case we had to take the reins.
Right.
So I said I'm next. I'll drive next. So
you finally got Carrie off from behind
Yeah.
the driver's seat. It's like, that's it. You're done. 20 hours after or whatever.
You're still in Louisiana, and I'm like, ugh. I was like, she really needs to not be driving at this point.
Yeah.
And it's after midnight. It's probably 1 a.m. or so. So she's officially been behind the wheel for 20 hours.
20 hours.
Oh my gosh.
20 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had breaks and things like that, but this is not.
It's still,
a good thing, right?
Time to let her in. Of course.
Yeah. So I kind of crept up from my seat back here, and we kind of let some other people sleep in the back, and I got up in that bench seat that was right next to her. I was like, "So, hey, Carrie, how you doing? What you got going on up there in that front seat?"
Right.
So just trying to have conversation. And then finally, I just said, "Hey, look, you know what? When we get to Mississippi, I'm going to take over." She's like, "Yeah, that's okay. That would be good. That'd be good.
Take a break." Yeah.
So
she probably would have kept driving if you didn't.
She probably would have.
Yeah, if she had to, she probably would have. But more on that later.
Yeah. So, So you got to that point. You stopped.
We stopped right after the Mississippi River.
Right. So you got past the Mississippi. Right.
Right past the Mississippi. There was a train going across the bridge. We got up there. There's a little bathroom break we took at a little spot just across the river. And then there was a benchmark there. So Larry and I are looking for this benchmark because why not? We're stopped.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we saw the train come through. We got a really cool video of the train actually coming across the river and then under a tunnel where we were looking for the benchmark. So it goes through the ground underneath us. So that was kind of cool.
That is sweet.
And then I took
So you took the reins at that point.
Let me say this. Let me say Mississippi is a boring state at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey.
There's nothing. I mean, there's no billboards. There's nothing. It is
nothing. It's pretty during the day, but at night.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, wow, this is a beautiful state. On the way out, Jessica said the same thing. She's like, wow, I never realized Mississippi was so beautiful. And at night, I'm like, forget this. This is the worst place I've ever driven.
I've driven through in the middle of the night, came into Jackson, drove through the state because I wanted to get out to I-10 and take I-10. And let me tell you, that was rough. And for me, but right before I got down to Mobile to make the turn and go that way, it was getting kind of foggy. So even the little bit, but there isn't a whole, I mean, it really is. It's pretty country, but at night there is nothing.
And that fog and no lights, it can get pretty treacherous.
Yeah, we didn't have any fog, and thankfully, I mean, honest to goodness, we didn't have any bad weather the entire time. It didn't rain. It didn't.
That's good.
I mean, if it did, it was very, very slight, and I don't remember it. So
that's good. Okay, so at this point, you're wrapping that up. You drove through Mississippi, got to Alabama.
Yeah, not without a couple stops though. It was. I mean, still having been awake and not got a really good nap, it was like I was definitely fighting it. Like there's times that were going through my head like I'm responsible for all the rest of the lives in this van.
Yes.
So I'm doing everything I can to keep my eyes. I didn't let them know about it because most of them are asleep in the back. But I stopped at a rest stop one time, splashed my face with water, pounded 2 Mountain Dews, and when I get back to the van, these guys have already found a cache near a light post.
Right. They're already finding
at the rest stop. They're out of the van, awake at this point, finding caches.
That's some geocaches.
And then awesome. Start driving again.
Yeah.
So it was a struggle, but we finally
hardcore geocachers, man.
We got to Birmingham, or kind of close to Birmingham, the outskirts of Birmingham.
Right.
And Carrie like popped up because she slept. She evidently she doesn't.
Yeah.
She doesn't sleep in vans like at all, right?
But 20 hours after driving, she's out. She was out like a light.
She was so tired, it took her about 2 seconds flat to just
boom,
done.
She's out.
Wow.
So she pops.
But also she pops up.
Hey, need me to take over?
I'm ready. Put me back in, coach. I'm ready.
Oh my gosh.
She did too, and I mean, she had a couple 2.5 hours or so of sleep, and then We pull over. I got a cup of coffee because I wasn't staying awake, and then I fell asleep after I drank that large cup of coffee. And she was behind the wheel, and she did the rest of the pull the entire way back to Atlanta. So
Oh my gosh!
Another 2 hours.
That is awesome.
It was unreal.
That's awesome. So, all right. So we're starting to get late. So we need to kind of start to get toward the end of the story. So at this point, you have to get back to the same place, right? You got to go back to the Lakewood Fairgrounds.
So we went back.
Answer the final. Go ahead.
We went back to the Lakewood Fairgrounds. We parked in the parking area that the cache owner gave us. And we had to answer a different question. So we actually had to go up to the gate of the fairgrounds.
Answer a question.
And get a question there and answer a question
clock
there.
Stopped. Right.
Clock stops.
Boom. You stop the clock. And then what was the final time? We got it because there's more to the story.
Right.
But as far as the final time, how much time? Because you were allowed 28 hours because that's the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
But what did the final clock say?
What was it? I think it was like 26.
26:25.
Yeah, 26:25 flat. So we finished with what is it at?
Hour and 35 minutes.
Hour and 35 minutes. If we had gone to Oklahoma,
you wouldn't have made it.
Wouldn't have made it.
Good call.
And we didn't on the last half of the trip. We didn't stop for a lot of caches, so it was literally like there was no time to spare.
No time to spare. So and I'm sure you've told him this, but you need to go back and tonight and thank Carrie and Jessica because you might not have finished this AR cache.
No, there's no way we would have finished it. And then we were like, could you imagine? Can you imagine doing a 28-hour adventure and then you get there? It's like, sorry, you missed it by about 5 minutes. And
oh my gosh.
Oh no.
It would have. One of us would have been, but it's about the adventure. But we would have been like completely that was.
Oh no.
We couldn't have done it. There's no way.
So, like I said, it's from roughly 6:30 a.m. It's the next morning.
Yeah.
Because you've passed 24 hours. You're at 26 hours roughly. So it's about 8:30ish, 9ish approximately.
Yeah, Larry said it was 9:13.
Okay, 9:13. Good. Thank you, sir.
9:13 Sunday morning.
And you've stopped the clock, which is great. And now
we get the final coordinates for the
you get the final chords because all AR cache is the same thing. You got to go find a physical container. And you're wiped out at this point. You've still got to go find this cache, and the cache isn't like in the parking lot.
No, it was
16, 18 miles away, right?
So we went to IHOP and had breakfast.
Right, that's true. Yeah, because the clock stopped.
There's no time limit anymore. We're like, we need coffee. There's no way we're going to stay awake for the rest of the day, and we still have to drive 2.5 hours back home.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but at least you got the clock stopped. Yeah, and you got the final chord, so it's like the
pressure's off at this point.
Yeah, pressure's off. Get some food. Get a little bit of coffee in you.
Right.
And
we had a little bit of a birthday celebration there too for Larry.
Oh, good. That's awesome. You gave him something cool. Tell people what you gave him.
We gave him a tin, a rectangular tin I ordered on Amazon, which was the movie poster for Smokey and the Bandit. And on the back of it, we flipped it over and we wrote the information about the cache. We wrote the cache name. We wrote the GC code, the coordinates, and then the final coordinates. So don't go looking and cheating on that one.
No, it's on the back. You'd have to break into his house probably to get that. I'm thinking.
We wrote some quotes at the bottom of it. From the movie.
Tell the one that I if the audio people are listening, they heard it at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
But Burt Reynolds, go ahead. Tell them about the.
It was something about, it's like, you think we can make it to Texarkana in 28 hours? And it says, we ain't never not done it.
Right. That's exactly right.
That was the quote that I wrote at the bottom of there. And then Larry, Gary pulls it up today. It says it's going to be on the.
Yeah, it'll be on the audio. Yeah. We've never not done it. Jerry Reed says, "No, you're right. You're right. We've never not
done it." So, and that was kind of our thing for the weekend. We've never not done it, but I mean, we were set up for doing it. We weren't going to fail at this. We weren't going to turn around without getting back in plenty of time. And we all, on the back of the tin and everything, we signed. Yeah. Kind of wrote a little happy birthday and stuff like that. So, I mean, and that's what the whole thing was about. It was Larry's birthday, and he wanted to do this adventure, and we're like all about it. The team went
Yeah.
all
Great.
the time. So
And
That's
then,
a great birthday present.
Yeah.
oh yeah, super cool.
So go find the final, do all that, and then you head home and
Yeah.
kind of call it a trip, and
Well, we were literally messaging each other as in driving in teams and things like that on the way home. I got out of Atlanta and I'm like, I can't drive anymore. I'm done.
yeah, I'm
And Jessica
done.
had to sleep, so she drove the rest of the way, and I was kind of in and out,
Yeah.
on the trip home.
So, yeah,
John had to drive by himself. Craig had to drive by himself.
right.
Larry and Carrie evidently were taking like 30-minute pulls
Sure.
for the 2.5 hours home, just because we were so
To get all the way
exhausted
home. So
after the
but
final.
incredible.
But still, at the final, when we got to the final, the traditional, actual physical cache location,
Yeah.
Larry's like, listen, I've been doing this for a long time, and this is in my top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So top 5 geocaching adventures ever. I get to be on the trip and like I said, had never cached with these guys before. It was an amazing experience, and everybody got home safe.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. Yeah. So
That's a very unique experience for sure.
oh man,
yeah. So as we're kind of, I guess, to start the wrap up tonight. So let's go around. Josh, I'm going to let you kind of go last, but Jesse, I guess give me some of your thoughts that you've had. I mean, I'm sure I know you've been busy in the chat room. So
Oh, yeah.
I guess kind of tell people that have been watching as far as what has it been like in the chat room? What's the conversations been like in the chat room? Tell us about that first, and then kind of give everybody your thoughts on tonight.
So the chat room's very impressed, and it's obviously we have a pretty experienced chat room, so they've been on a lot of trips, and they were all impressed by this. And obviously, it's a birthday present. That's the best birthday present anybody can imagine doing, and getting together and doing these kind of trips. And so everybody was really hyped up about it, and they were blown away by this trip, obviously. And we could probably talk for another hour and a half about this trip, all the things that were happening. I mean, there was more in the notes that we could have talked about too, but I think it's a really good example of what geocaching and friendships and stuff like that kind of come out of it, and how unique you can always do something different, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I've been on a bunch of road trips, and that's one of the things I love doing, and some insane things. But I've never done this. And I don't mean just this AR. I mean, I've never done a timed geocaching run before, which that is a whole new element to it. So
oh yeah.
Level of difficulty. When you go on a road trip, usually your time is like, I have to be back for work on Monday. That's this one is, you have to make it in 28 hours. And obviously you want to get caches on the way and all these experiences that come up. You got to see your grandparents. I mean, all these really special things that happened, and it's just a brand new, unique adventure. I don't know if anybody else I don't know of another one like this out there. So I'm really impressed by this, and I'd love to go do it myself. So, thanks for telling the story of this, and I hope this is able to stay around for a while and other people are able to try it. Look at the brand new things you came up with, the experiences you came up with, and experienced cachers, newer cachers, you get together and you really bond 26 hours in a car. You really get to know somebody really well after that. So,
right.
Very cool adventure.
Yeah, I just want to mention too, and then Josh, I want you to kind of give your final thoughts. But and thanks to I talked a little bit with Larry. I appreciate his willingness to kind of pop on the show too and be in the chat room and kind of give some answers too. But this is kind of a good example, and I hope that as we and Jesse will let you know, I did talk to Brian Roth recently. The president of geocaching.com right now, and we're going to have him on here soon, and we'll probably have him on in June. So, that's something maybe we can let him know ahead of time that we would like to mention to him, is that this kind of thing is probably a good reason that I think the AR should stay around in some form, because, and we're going to let Brian know that and let him know that this is a great example of how, this can be used for an adventure. It really is. It's an incredible adventure. So, I'm so glad that we were able to do this show tonight. I know we kind of, like you said, we had kind of a start and stop as far as time wise, but I want to get back to this. And I remember I contacted you, Josh, and said, all right, let's reschedule. Let's get it back on the schedule. I want to redo it. Let's get it. Let's, I know it's been a little bit since you've done it, but it's
we did it in March. So.
Yeah. But it was like, and you were the same way. It's like, yeah, I want to talk about it. It's like, all right, let's get back on the schedule. We're okay. We'll get it done. So, I guess, go ahead. Give us some of your last final thoughts for people.
I'll say this. If you're caching as a group and you know somebody that might be interested in something like that, kind of like Larry did with me, invite that person in, because that was just super cool. To be included and to join in with a group of experienced cachers and learn kind of the way they do it.
Yes.
Also to learn their inside jokes, because there's a ton of inside jokes from
right
caching for a long time. I had no idea. Some of them I think I don't want to know and still don't understand. But
that's funny. That's awesome.
I enjoyed the experience. I enjoyed making new friends. I mean, the John and Craig, they kind of helped put together GeoCoin Fest 2011, I think it was, in Rock Hill.
Oh, cool. Oh, very cool. Yeah.
So we got in the car and they're like, hey, since you haven't been caching with us, Craig hands me this bag and it's got like 10 GeoCoins in it and all the paraphernalia from that.
Oh, wow.
He's
That's
like,
awesome.
Here's the brochure. This explains all the GeoCoins. Thanks for coming along on the trip. I'm like, what?
Wow. That's incredible.
So just the friendships that were developed from just inviting some cachers that weren't necessarily into your side of thing or have been doing it as long. It was just super welcoming, and it was just very warm, kind of a warm experience like that. So
yeah, wow. So a couple last things. Show people your shirt again, because people know it's the re-elect Buford T. Justice for sheriff. So
yeah,
Buford
T. Justice. I bought this a couple days out. I bought it a couple days out. Had it delivered on Amazon. And nobody knew about it except for Jessica until like the morning of the trip, and then I come out to breakfast.
Right, Buford. Give me a Diablo sandwich and a Dr. Pepper.
I also got this.
Yeah, Bandit 1.
We were gonna put this on the front of the van that we rented.
Yeah,
and roll with it. It showed up a day late, so we didn't. Still haven't given it to Larry. It's another one of his birthday presents.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so people need to go back and watch the show, but the movie, because
that's a whole. If you've seen it, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so upcoming shows. I forgot to mention this last week. I apologize for missing. I want to mention those because I know people like to hear what's coming up. So next weekend, next Sunday, Chris Williamson will be back on the show. He was the director of Treasure, right back here behind me. I got the movie poster behind me, but Treasure's about to come out actually on the 17th. This I guess would be 5 days away. It'll be back available on Amazon this time. He got a distributor, obviously big. He got Amazon, so you'll be able to buy it, rent it. You can do different things. Because Amazon has that whole thing where if you just want to rent it, you want to purchase it, you want to just buy the digital version, you want to buy the actual Blu-ray, however you want to do it. It's going to be available starting the 17th. Chris is going to be back. We're trying to line up some people. Some actors. They've got schedules, and so we can't promise you anything. Trying to get Ansley back and try to get Shanice, possibly the dad that was on the movie, is a possible. We're working on that. But at the very least, Chris will be on, the director, and we're going to talk a little bit about Treasure. And it's been a while now since Treasure. Jesse and I, we did shows about Treasure really 2 years ago. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun to reminisce and talk a little about that. Maybe we can talk Chris into doing Treasure too. So that's the next thing.
That would be cool.
And then in 2 weeks, Jesse, only 2 short Sundays.
I know.
and we're going to be doing a Geo Woodstock recap in 2 weeks, and that's going to be live from the GPS maze, which is now back after 5 years of being missing from North America. It's going to be back, and we're going to have a live audience, hopefully, maybe at least one person. I know Joshua, the geocaching vlogger, will be in the audience because I'm his ride to the airport.
That's right. So we got at least one person watching.
So we got one person that'll be in the audience. Actually, we'll have him on the show too, but I plan on trying to get either Vince or maybe somebody who's involved with GPS Maze to pop on. We're going to have we'll have a setup, and we'll have another audio feed, and we'll have them sit with us. Jesse's going to have his computer. We'll be sitting next to each other, which would be kind of weird to do a show right next to each other, buddy. But
yeah.
And then in 3 weeks, this is crazy. We are going to be doing the 3rd anniversary show.
Wow.
The third anniversary of the show, and we've got to have back Mr. Show number 1. Daryl W4 will be back with us. Daryl and I did the show. We did show number 1. He was gracious enough to be part of this crazy adventure podcast / network. And so I asked Daryl if he'd come back for a 3rd time, and somehow he agreed. I don't know. It was out of charity to us, I guess. But
that's right.
So a 3rd anniversary show in 3 weeks, June 2nd. So, all right. Well, folks, we hope you enjoyed the show tonight. Email us your comments at geocachetalk@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, facebook.com/geocache talk. We do a lot on all 3 of those. And so, it helps to be involved in those as well. Try to do Instagram. Jesse does a lot more Instagram than I do. I try to put on some photos of adventures we've done as time goes on. Yeah, we both do. We try to put out when we find caches, since we're both very active finding geocaches. We try to do some cool photos of our experiences. And so anyway, don't forget to click on the subscribe button below and ring that bell for the notification so you can be reminded. Especially now is really important. I know, so we've gotten a lot of new subscribers recently, and it's important right now to do that subscribe, because coming up for Geo Woodstock, we do plan on doing not only the show, the scheduled show on that Sunday, but I guarantee you there's going to be some pop-up shows, which I call pop-up shows. But right, Jesse, we're going to try to do
we're planning unplanned shows.
We're planning unplanned shows. I love it. But we are going to try to sit down either at the hotel or different places. Might be one on Thursday. We're going to, right before the brewery, we might try to do one from maybe the oldest in Texas. I don't know if you want to come by there or not. We'll try to get some info out a little bit, but yeah, we're just going to do a show. We're just going to pop up and do a show. So you'll be reminded, or it'll in case you want to jump on the show, jump on and watch. But if you're subscribed, then you'll get a notification. So that's important. So, all right. Look forward to seeing everybody next week. Until next week, don't just talk about geocaching. Go find something like Josh's group found. He's shaking his head. No, go find something. Go find an adventure like that somewhere.
That's better.
There you go. And go geocaching. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right.